India, South India, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. They're very much personal. People are inspired by the person.
Yes.
You know, and without that personal leadership, and look at all the successful yatras.
Yeah.
It's a personal, a charismatic personal leader that actually inspires people. And where we don't have that, it's struggle.
Yes.
It's a struggle. So it's people like that. You know, this principle of an ideal king. If we could have an ideal king, it'd be so wonderful. I mean, someone that was just ideal, that you could fully trust. You would surrender. And you see those zones, zones where the leaders are ideal and inspirational. That they're the successful zones. You know, it's a personal leader.
Can I add? Chopati temple where Radhanath Maharaj, he built a congregation where he personally gave time and he really cared for them like babies. From where they were like fighting and all, but the congregation now has gone to a mature level where the individual leaders under him have matured over time.
Yeah, sometimes we hear the example that he set up the community there based on all the mistakes that the previous generations had made in ISKCON. So very personal. It's a person.
Very caring.
You can approach, and like that, Yudhishthira is the king like that. You can approach. He was ideal personality, ideal character. Read a few more quotes, Prabhupada. Like to read, please?
This world is created by Krishna and he wants to see it is properly maintained. And who will maintain? His own representative, not the demons. Therefore, king is supposed to be a representative of Krishna. He will maintain this world properly. A Vaishnava, he knows how to utilize everything for Krishna. The aim of this creation is giving this conditioned soul another chance for liberation. That is the purpose. When he saw now Maharaj is situated on the throne for the control of the world, he, Pritaman, Babhuva, he became satisfied. There is my real representative, and he will work nicely.
Now, why was the Battle of Kurukshetra fought? Raise hands if you like to respond after that.
Because Krishna wanted his representative and the Pandava family was it.
Yeah, that it was rightful. I mean, first of all, Krishna wanted a devotee. And secondly, Yudhishthira was actually the eldest of the princes. You know, so in terms of hereditary laws, Yudhishthira was the eligible. You know, the issue there with Dhritarashtra was that Pandu wasn't the king, Dhritarashtra became the surrogate king. Actually, Pandu was the king. He was blind, so Dhritarashtra became the king. No, Pandu died, so Dhritarashtra became the king. But Pandu's sons actually were the heirs to the throne. But Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to inherit the throne. That was the whole point. Dhritarashtra, so much attached to the control. And so that needed to be rectified. And so therefore it was fought. Please read.
Maharaja Yudhishthira had no ideology of his own. He had but to follow the instructions of the infallible Lord and the Lord's representative, the authorized agent. It is instructed in the Shastra that one should follow the great authority and the infallible Lord without a personal motive and medical ideology. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaja Yudhishthira to rule the whole world, including the seas, because the principles were infallible and universally applicable to everyone.
Okay. So now let's take a look in next verses 4 to 6. There's 3 verses there, and they describe this amazing description of Yudhishthira's, of the kingdom. It's actually often referred to by Prabhupada. You know, the cows were dripping with milk, and with the pasturing fields were muddy with the milk, and so many. So let us examine this in a little more detail. We'll take 10 minutes on this. We'll put you into groups, 1, 2. It's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mataji, you can do group on your own.
That's fine.
You can do group on your own. Yeah, like that makes it 3 groups. Yeah. So look at we'll give you the purport. Just group 1. There's not 3 groups, not 6 groups, 3 groups. So text 4, perhaps Dev and Nandadulal and Jagadish, one group. Takes 4. And takes 5, you guys? Takes 5, 3. And or maybe let's do maybe Nandadullah, why don't you join these guys in the front, and then
Okay.
it's easier to make a group at the
Okay,
back.
okay.
Or maybe Dave, why don't you join these guys, and then there's a little natural group at the back there. Join the guys. And take 6, Sundari Gopi. Okay. So just summarize what are the key aspects what Prabhupada says in the Purana. Take 10 minutes, 12:15, and we'll see what you come up with. Takes 4, 5, 6. Takes 4, takes 5, takes 4, takes 5, takes 6, takes 5. You need to work together on these guys. The group work.
I'll just read through the. Today's slogan. Today's slogan. Let's go close.
Takes 4.
5.
Takes 5. Takes 5. Takes 4 at the back.
Yeah. We have 5. We have 5 front, 5. Yours is 5 or 4? We are doing 5, no? Prabhu?
Either one, 4, 5. You're right. 4, 5.
Our is 4.
Yeah, 4,
And then
4, 5.
So which one is the ring on the
4.
board?
Yeah.
So we go back.
With the rainfall, we're getting.
Yes.
So this will have to be the counts to be the top and things like that.
Yeah, that's fine. This is
Condition for the
and he
Cobra
said
one.
there are 12 questions. Conditions. And all, and the conclusion is this.
So first condition is to be 70.
That's why it's easy.
To be a 70.
And yeah, it starts with the rainfall, but the first question is that people should be pleased. Raj. Who's writing now? The writing of Properly, actually asking many questions. What is the Buddha's?
You have to see
Yeah, it needs to be 70.
it was raining. People rainfall, so people are vegetation to produce. The vegetation is different. So now it was not perfect conditions.
And the cows to be happy with the circumstance, vegetation and rainfall cows will also be whether being
It says rainfalls are not in control of the human being. So from his rain, you can see that finger level trees.
and the production values of stones and pearls.
Yeah, so again, production of fruits or necessities.
Grains and vegetables and the cows were also happy to see the
House water is the most important.
So properly saying therefore we don't actually make these applications.
Okay.
They are made with more tough ones. They are not getting rainfall, they are not getting proper grains. But
That's what they're willing to calculate, so that's supposed to be like saving the life of the council. They're willing to account because the rainfall will be providing enough necessities for them to just start calculating if you know.
Yeah, so human civilization need not depend upon artificial economic development but on natural production.
That is, I like to say
That
the fundamental
yeah, other things are explained the same thing. Basically, narrative.
Open talks about communism, black communism.
And Prabhupada is explaining this. Actually, animals are also sentient, so an ideal thing can also become that.
Oh yes. He's doing that to protect the health.
So we have to get a phenomenon in this world. Who is the present? You or
He's got a table. So it's easier for him just to read it.
Ready?
You're pretty much
Done. Complete.
yeah, and I think complex sentence. Should we take a couple of minutes more? Okay, so group 5 in verse 5, select someone as you read.
Okay, there is also this, to educate properly the masses. So you can education of the masses. Masses.
Shall we reconvene, or you need more time? We're good? Text 5, you ready also?
Yes.
Sundari Gopi, you ready? Okay, let's take 4. Text 4, let's hear about it.
So, Maharaj Yudhishthir's main economic development was centered on land and cows. And because of the reign of Yudhishthir, which we said how it was a perfect example, the demigods were pleased and they were showering enough rainfall. So we had sufficient vegetation, and because of that, the cows had sufficient grass and they were happy to give enough milk, which is self-sufficient for the society to live in itself. But then because of the modern culture where we don't have this emphasis on food grains and cows, we are going on artificial things like creating factories and all artificial fashions that Prabhupada is mentioning. And because of which nature is actually withholding the resources, and then people are resorting to not protecting. King should protect all his citizens, including animals. And we are not doing that, and then going for killing cows and other things. So we actually basically, the king is lower than an animal itself.
Detailed report, yes. So that the cows were moistening the pasturing ground with milk. There was the rain with the astronomical influence combined to produce stones and pearls. Okay, let's hear a little bit about text number 5. What's going on there?
Well, the emphasis is on the spiritual servitorship of the Lord, being dependent on Him, and in this way to please Him. Therefore, if He is pleased, then all the nature who are subservient to Him will also pay their tax quota to the demigods, and there will be a profusion of wealth. There is also education of the masses on spiritual subject. This is at the end of the purport. With the being educated, Srila Prabhupada says there cannot be they will follow, they will be tricked by false leadership. And to consider every property as the proprietorship of the Lord, and Prabhupada called this godly communism.
Yeah. Prabhupada talked about godly communism in this paper?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the rivers fertilize the land, the oceans supply minerals, pearls, jewels, forests supply wood, drugs, vegetables, everything. Thank you. Gopi, Sundari Gopi, text 6.
Yeah, in 6 verse, Prabhupada talks about how animals cannot be excluded from when we say non-violence. Humans as well as animals need to be included, otherwise it's like a Satan philosophy. If we do not protect animals, then there will be they are anxious, and all the reactions come to human society. And the next part talks about Yudhishthir Maharaj's leadership of although he is following Krishna, and it's like the watering the root of the tree. If you please Krishna, the whole society is, human as well as animal society is happy, and the atmosphere is like Vaikuntha. There is no disease, there is no untimely rain, calamities, no change of climate like we have today. And then there are no wars, hot and cold wars going around. So everybody is pleased when we please one person, Krishna. And then Krishna in turn protects the king and the citizens. So it's like, we have to obey Krishna. He is there for us.
I just saw on the BBC, they were saying, Chennai, again flood. Can Chennai to deal with another flood? Chennai, BBC. Originally you're from where?
I'm from Mumbai.
Yeah, so it's all up and down. Although it's much more, the climate in the West is so unpredictable. They have the weather forecast, they have to have it. You don't really need in India the weather forecast, it's so predictable. Every day now, a little bit cooler. A little bit cooler. This is like a dial. Every day, a little bit cooler, a little bit cooler, a little bit cooler. And this is so predictable. There's much less disruption in climate than in India than in the West. So, I don't know what's going on with the weather.
Prabhu, I would like to add, this is something personal that I've observed. We came from US where, you know, my kids have a lot of toys and they are in a big house, they are alone. But here, from 7 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the night, 7 in the morning, they're all playing down without any toys. The weather is good. I mean, it changes, but the setup of India is so that, you know, they just play and be happy in an open environment. There are no gadgets, nothing. They don't need anything, just mud. They're playing, and all about Krishna they play.
In
So-
Mayapur.
Yeah, they're in the community here.
Mayapur, yeah.
It's beautiful. When Krishna is there, it cannot be any problem.
You're very fortunate to have
Yeah.
be able to see with eyes and appreciate Mayapur Dham with such eyes. So yes, therefore, Prabhupada's concluding. Please read.
Therefore, in contrast with the modern advanced civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthir's is by far superior to a so-called democracy in which animals are killed and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man.
Prabhupada, and this is even before Prabhupada came to America. He's writing this. This is in Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan, before he even came to America. But how accurate is that? In terms, and the democracy is like they try and push democracy all over the world. You know, they'll invade some country with a dictator then to establish democracy. It's like, you know, this is the solution to all the problems. Democracy. It's Greek, you know. It's Greek. It's democracy. It's Greek. I mean, it's the majority rules. There's no whatever. The wrong can become right if the majority wants it. That's democracy.
Yeah.
There's right and wrong, and there's no. It's whatever. It's the majority.
Yeah.
It's Greek system of social organization. The majority rules. It's not really good leadership. It just works because the majority rules, and the majority get what they want. You know. And Prabhupada he's disgusted with it. No one speaks like that about democracy. No spiritual leaders in the world. No one speaks about democracy the way Prabhupada does. You know, it's like so clear. A government like a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira is far superior. Of course, you know, we don't have such a king, but if we could get, and although the first phase of our movement is to produce Brahmins, you know, because the world is so ignorant that they need. So anyone will do. Anyone let your Javan class so they can become Brahmins because there's so much a necessity. But subsequently, we actually were to produce kings. Produce kings. Ziskon, Garbhadan Sanskar, Grihastha Ashram, to produce kings like Yudhishthira Maharaj, like Parikshit Maharaj. That's what we're meant to do. That's part of our mission. Because without a king, it's basically you can't really. Without a strong, powerful king that's religious, you can't really establish the principles of religion in the society. Just by our Brahminical efforts and preaching and education, but the people that just refuse. You have to have a strong king. Out of fear, they'll follow. For complete inundation of Krishna consciousness and a Krishna conscious government, Krishna conscious society, you need a Krishna conscious king who's feared by the wrongdoers. Without that, you know, you can never just by education and preaching and people will just they don't have to surrender. They won't. Prabhupada's continuing, please read.
To produce a new series of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and the perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, Uganda has to again follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaja Yudhishthira or Parikshit.
It's Prabhupada's statement here is very, it's controversial. It's confrontational is the word, confrontational. To use a word like that in the 1960s, he says godly communism. That's very radical. That's very radical. That's not in Prabhupada's writing 1964, 63, 64, these purports. The US went they went to war in Vietnam in 66, 67. That was communism. That was to prevent communism spreading in Southeast Asia. And Prabhupada's using very very bold images and content, godly communism. And it's very radical, very radical. Prabhupada, he's attacking the whole modern democratic, which they're so proud of. They're so proud of. But of course, it all went wrong when, you know, in the US, the guy we don't need to mention his name. You all know who I'm talking about. And he became the guy who refused to accept that he lost the presidency. biggest sore loser in the history of American politics. So he was voted because his qualities were so base, selfish, you know, proud, you know, no integrity, just lies, and people like that. They aspire. The American people, yeah, let's be like that. So he became the leader. It's like that, you know, like that. You put an unqualified, and all the unqualified people they're attracted to, they vote for him. It's madness. It's madness. It's popular. The right is the popularity makes things right. You know, but they're not uneducated. Just because it's popular doesn't make it right. There's a majority of people in ignorance. That's democracy. It's flawed. It's flawed from the very beginning. Because they don't know what is right. They just say whatever the majority want. And hopefully, as Sundar Gopi was mentioning, that even in ISKCON we have to put a group of us, the committee leadership, because at least if there's a few of us together, it's more likely that we'll be right. So that's their idea. But they're in it. It's andayutandayupaniyamanas. The blind leading the blind. Just because there's more of them doesn't make it any more enlightening. So Prabhupada's saying here, a new species of humanity, relevance for us, or assembly of Bhagavad scholars, relevance for us to produce a new species of humanity. Yes, Deva.
Are you basically asking why we need a new society? Is that
Yeah, well, what's it mean? I'm asking relevance for us. That means relevance for you. What it means to you, this statement.
I mean, it's quite self-explanatory because of
It's quite
self-explanatory in the sense that the reason why this is arising in the first place is because there needs a change, right? Otherwise, this wouldn't have been a subject of.
well, Prabhupada says new species.
So, a new species means that it's not like an element of evolution, but it's a new species because Prabhupada wants to actually completely eliminate the contamination or any sort of previous misunderstandings of religion and a lot of sects, and especially with the time that we're living in now with globalization, many people are like following anarchy and almost feeling as if they're able to then rule in their subdivisions based on their own beliefs, and this is what is actually causing war. So when Prabhupada uses Maharaj Yudhisthira as an example, the reason why I feel like he uses somebody like Maharaj Yudhisthira and Parikshit as an example is to show that even though they've been empowered and they're jivas, it's still possible for us, even though this happened like a number of years, a long time ago, but it doesn't mean that in this present moment that the heights that they've reached is not possible now. Whereas if he was relating to, like, let's say demigods or other lordships that it's completely impossible for us to attain, then he's giving us that sense of belief, but then giving it to us in a way where it's strictly compliable. And
Good, David. Others' thoughts, relevance for us, new species. Yes.
Well, when we talk about species or evolution from spiritual point, it's conscious.